All right, in the last video, we looked at how to use the quadratic formula to find the solutions of a quadratic equation. We just need to make a few comments here about making sure that you choose what I call appropriate solutions, specifically when you're dealing with word problems. So if you're working a word problem and you're given a quadratic equation to solve, sometimes you're going to need to choose just one of the solutions that makes sense, usually based on whether your answer should be a positive quantity or a negative quantity. So choosing kind of the right answer out of the possible two answers is kind of the skill when working word problems like this. So let's just do a little example. Let's say that we're a golfer, we're going to hit a golf ball and we hit it, and the equation that describes of how that ball moves is given by that equation right there. H of x is minus 3x squared plus 0.2x plus 30. So h of x describes the height of the ball as a function of x, the distance that it's traveled. And what we're going to do is we're going to figure out where does the ball hit the ground. So I'm trying to find the value for x that the ball actually comes down and hits the ground. Well, when it hits the ground, that has a height of 0 above the ground. So we know we're going to try to figure out when this quantity is equal to 0. So I've gone ahead and written down 0 equals that. I'm going to try to solve for the value of x that makes this true. Well, we know how to do that. One way to solve for this is using the quadratic formula. So let's go ahead and use the quadratic formula again. So it's going to be minus b, so a negative 0.2, plus or minus 0.2 squared, b squared, right? And then minus 4 times a here is a negative 3, and then times c, which is 30. All of that divided by, on the denominator we have 2a, so 2 times a negative 3 will end up being a negative 6. All right, so now it's just time to work on simplifying this a little bit. 0.2 squared is 0.04. And then you'll see that we have a negative 3 times that negative 4 will be a positive 12. So this will end up being plus 12 times 3 times 30. So 4 times 3 times 3, that's 360. So plus 360 divided by a negative 6. And then keep simplifying, 360 plus 0.04, and then take the square root, you get about 0.1897. So that's just me doing my calculator there to get about 0.1897. And now we can figure out what the different solutions are. One is minus 0.2 minus 18.97 gives us minus 19.17. Divided by a negative 6, we get about 3.20. So that's one of the answers. And then the other answer based on this right here is a negative 2 plus 18.97, which is 18.77. And then divide by a negative 6, we get a negative 3.13. However, because this is a word problem, we're going to go ahead and throw out that answer because it doesn't really make sense. We're talking about how far has the ball gone before it hit the ground. Well, that distance is going to be a positive quantity. So this is our answer, not this. If this was just given to us as a problem saying solve this quadratic, obviously there would be these two answers. But in the context of a word problem, when you use the quadratic formula, when you get down to the end here and are trying to decide what the right answer is, often you're going to need to exclude something that doesn't make sense. And that usually happens based on whether it's a negative number or a positive number and what you're talking about in the word problem.